As bad as things are, they're about to get worse. Much worse.
Otherworld life forms, drawn by heat and conflict. He's on safari. Lions, tigers, the bears. Oh my.
Predator 2. He's in town with a few days to kill.
The Predator, one of my favorite movie monsters of all time. The alien species from another world that visits Earth every once in a while to hunt the greatest prey, man. We're going to talk about Predator 2. Some people really like it, some people really hate it, some are right in the middle. I, for one, used to really not like this movie growing up because of how different it was from the original, which really focused on a military team in the jungle getting picked off one by one. Predator 2 is so wildly different from it. But you know what, as I've gotten older, I've come to love this movie because it's so different. The first half is almost like this crime story where the detective's trying to solve this mystery. And then the second half of the movie is this all-out brawl between man and monster. And the movie came out at the perfect time, 1990, where kids were growing into arcades, video games, comic books, and Predator 2 invaded all those areas. There were video games that were all pretty much action shooters making it to the Amiga. This one actually looks really cool. It's a gallery-style shooter, similar to something like the Punisher on the NES. Come to think of it, I don't even think I knew what an Amiga was when I was a kid. I didn't know any other kids that had one, and I sure as hell didn't have one. The Sega Genesis version was also a shooter in the style of games like Smash TV. A similar version of this on the Sega Master System, and the Game Gear even got a watered-down port. Oddly enough, there were no Nintendo versions of Predator 2. I guess since Sega was sort of the edgier console at the time.
What Nintendo?
There was even a comic book directly based on the Predator 2 movie, released among the plethora of other Predator comics that popped up during the era. The Predator had permanently taken its place within nerd culture. Growing up in the 90s, you couldn't not be exposed to it. But before we get into the movie, I'd like to go ahead and introduce my Patreon page. If you'd like to help support the channel and allow me to continue creating content like this for all time, you can become a patron for as little as $1 a month by clicking on the link in the description or heading over to patreon.com/GamerThumbTV. And for their continued support, I'd also like to thank my current patrons and channel members listed in the description. No one could really argue against the fact that the original Predator was a huge success. The budget was around $15 million, it grossed over $98 million, so it was only a matter of time before a sequel popped up. Originally, there were 6 different ideas pitched for Predator 2, and the winning one was to put the creature in an urban jungle, the concrete jungle of Los Angeles. The story takes place 10 years after the first one in the far-off future of the year 1997. The Los Angeles of 1997 is a crime-riddled war zone, and I find that hilarious because what is it about Los Angeles that filmmakers always decide to make it this apocalyptic shithole in the future? This is 1997 crime-riddled LA. Demolition Man has 1996 crime-riddled LA. Terminator has 2029 nuclear-blasted robot-controlled LA. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's so many examples. I've been to LA twice for E3. It's not as bad as these movies make it seem. In the 1997 Los Angeles of Predator 2, the Colombian and Jamaican gangs and drug cartels are fighting each other for control of the city, turning the streets into a battleground with live fire ricocheting all over the place. Police are outgunned and outnumbered during a heat wave, mind you. Fully armored and equipped police are sent flying with explosions. The gang members have a barricade, and they're powered up by copious amounts of drugs.
bro.
Oh, don't you do it now, don't do drugs.
Come and get it! The Scorpio is ready!
Don't do drugs.
And two things the Predator is attracted to are heat and warfare. This time around, you won't see Arnold Schwarzenegger drive up on the scene to save the day. He was supposed to star as Dutch again for the sequel in some form, but due to a salary dispute, he declined, and instead we have Danny Glover, playing super cop detective Mike Harrigan. He's your stereotypical die-hard, no-nonsense cop. He doesn't play by the rules, and he's always in trouble with his superiors.
I put my ass on the line to get you here. And all I expect is a little cooperation!
Don't let this get outfield, but it's a fucking war down here.
Hey, Harrigan! More victims, more mutilation!
Fuck you!
I don't roll over anybody, especially the fans, without a goddamn good explanation!
You will extend him your full cooperation.
Which means you're cutting off my dick and shoving it up my ass.
God damn it, Mike. Now get back to your cage at Alvarado!
I'll show you what it's doing, this you son of a bitch! Hey, where you running to? Come here, come on,
You don't need this, Mike. It's not worth it.
Cooperation is my middle name. Fuck you!
And while the rest of the police force has trouble taking down the crime gangs, Mike Harrigan rushes in effortlessly, equipped with a tucked-in shirt and plot armor, leaving himself completely open to fire while hanging out the side of a car.
Hey, asshole!
Unknown to him, a Predator is in LA watching his every move, and it went to town on the remaining criminals. It's a bloodbath, and the police have no idea what's going on. They think it's some kind of rival gang or new player in town, but at the same time, whoever this person is stringing up grown men from the ceiling.
That's about 35, 40 feet. No rope, no ladder. The guy weighs about 190, 195 pounds. You couldn't carry him up there.
And this is where the movie really starts off as a crime mystery, with bits of the Predator popping up to do some killing here and there. And you know what? Technically, the Predator is sort of a good guy so far. Almost like a Punisher character. I mean, he is taking out the bad guys. And if you pay attention closely, you can see he left the unarmed, defenseless women unharmed. And this goes into the extended Predator lore and how their species, or at least their hunting code, that they're supposed to abide by, has some sense of morals. They aren't supposed to hunt the weak, or those that don't represent a threat. They want to hunt strong, powerful prey. Although I do find their sense of honor kind of funny, because during their hunts, they still kind of cheat, staying mostly invisible and then surprising people with shoulder cannon blasts. Where's the honor in that? And of course you can't have a movie about an alien monster without suspicious government people. The feds roll into town and take over the operation and couldn't look any more suspicious with their nice suits, secret suitcases, dark sunglasses. It's the stereotypical bad government people, and they're led by the super secretive Special Agent Keyes that Mike absolutely hates. He can't stand this guy. Every time the Predator creates another crime scene, Keyes and his agent show up to keep everything quiet.
I wish I could tell you more. We have a large number of deep cover operatives involved here. You know how it is. We all have a job to do. They say the persistence is one of your most outstanding qualities.
Hey, look, I know this is your show, but
Now, you're not listening to me. The next time you cross me, you're gonna turn up missing.
I don't give a fuck who you really are, what you want with this asshole.
You got a big nose.
Stay the fuck out my way.
Like I said before, Keyes is just an absolute asshole. He's the dick of the movie. Although this movie is significantly different from the original Predator, one thing it does do similar is make the main human characters so likable. They each have a very distinct personality. We already know Mike Harrigan is the badass cop, although he does like to delegate jobs quite frequently, it seems.
We gotta take this real cool. These guys sure aren't the DEA. but it still keys this party. You stick around, stay out of sight. I'll meet you at 1 o'clock. We'll take a good look at that room, okay? Watch your ass, Danny boy. You wanna make me proud, kid? Take your bag of tricks, stay with them, find out where they take her. Meet me later at Besitos. And be careful, these guys are good.
We've also got his right-hand man and close friend, Danny. Danny's that ride-or-die friend that when you go into work for the day and you find out he called out, your entire shift just kind of sucks and you can't wait for it to be over. If there's anything Mike needs to do against the rules, he quietly sends Danny in to do it, and Danny follows his orders without question, because he's got his back, although he does become a victim of Mike's job delegations.
Danny boy.
Mike?
Then we have Leona, the chick you don't mess with that can go toe-to-toe with the men of the squad. We've seen characters like this plenty of times, and she's constantly being driven crazy by the amazing Bill Game Over Man Paxton. He's always so entertaining in every movie he's in, and this time it is no different. He plays Detective Lambert, otherwise known as Jerry. He's this extremely cocky, obnoxious cop that's nicknamed the Lone Ranger. He's actually really good at his job, and he requested to be transferred into Detective Harrigan's unit.
This guy's Jerry Lambert, the Lone Ranger from Rampart Station.
That's the wrong Ranger? Yeah, I thought he was here to fix the air conditioning.
And he's also filled with terrible jokes that he likes unleashing at the wrong time, and he's an expert at anything you ask him to do.
Looks like he's putting the moves to Leona.
His first big mistake.
Like your last partner got shot? Well, you try that cowboy shit with me, fucking, you can kiss this. Goodbye.
So I go in for my physical, right? And the doctor says, I need a semen, stool, and urine sample. I say, gee, doc, I'm in a big hurry. Can I just leave my underwear?
And be careful, these guys are good.
Hey, don't worry, Lieutenant. Surveillance is my specialty.
Okay then, just get going.
Lieutenant, pluck is my specialty.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Hey!
Hey, are your balls okay?
Fine. How are yours?
Bill Paxton also has the honor of being the only actor to be killed by a xenomorph, a Terminator, and a Predator. He just can't seem to stay alive in any movie involving a monster.
Come on, motherfucker!
Want to kill me?
Let's dance!
But at least he also gets to star in one of the most iconic shots in this movie, at least his skull does, when the Predator rips it out of his body. You only catch a quick glimpse of the actual act, and I suspect it was originally intended to be much more violent. Predator was actually in the crosshairs of the MPAA, always trying to ruin everything, and it was actively trying to avoid an NC-17 rating, which would have destroyed it at the box office. So instead, we just get these quick shots that pan away before you could really see what happened. And as far as the epic shot, it's always been the first image that pops in my head when I think of this movie. There's even a badass action figure depicting that moment that I need to pick up sometime. This thing's cool. Around the second half of the movie, after Danny's death, Mike becomes obsessed with hunting down his killer and sets out to do whatever he needs to do to track him down. He finds a piece of one of the Predator's weapons and he takes it to a doctor that can analyze it, and of course they do the whole it's made out of some unknown material, not from this earth type of thing. And he knows either the federal agents in the city know what's going on or someone involved with the gangs do. So he goes and he pays a visit to Jamaican drug lord King Willie, and this dude is nuts. He's well aware of the Predator, but instead of knowing it's an invisible alien visitor, he thinks it's some kind of demon from the other side.
I don't know who he is, but I know where he is. The other side.
What are you talking about?
The spirit world, man. You can't see the eyes of the demon.
until him come calling.
And this is possibly my second favorite shot in this movie. King Willie sees the Predator, he yells as he's about to fight it, then they transition into a shot of his head while still hearing him yell. It's pretty cool.
His foundation lied in the holy mountain. Selah.
And Predator 2 was way more important to Predator lore than many give it credit for. It adds so much context to the Predator as a species. I'll get more into that later, but we even get to see the trophy making process. He takes King Willie's head, he cleans it all off, looks like he gives it a little shine there, and he puts it on his trophy wall. By this point in the movie, the Predator has become fixated with Mike Harrigan. He's seen his skills, he knows he would make a great target, and knows that Mike is trying to find him. And we get another example of the Predator refusing to kill a harmless target before he leaves Danny's necklace for Mike to find.
Want some candy?
Brian! You come here right this minute.
Mommy, I saw a gun! Some candy? Want some candy?
This is such a great scene from a viewer's point of view because it could be interpreted in so many different ways. Why did he leave the necklace there? You can interpret that as some sort of sign of respect, maybe for the prey that he hunted. I like to think that he was taunting Mike to come after him to make the hunt more exciting, to get him riled up. Like, hey, I killed your friend, come get me. Another great scene happens shortly after this. Jerry and Leona are in the subway. Fun fact, when this movie was made in 1990, LA had no system like this. In the real 1997, when the movie takes place, the Los Angeles Metro Rail actually started operating, so this movie did kind of predict the future. Anyways, this scene is what I wanted out of Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. There's a bunch of people on the subway, and everybody happens to be armed, because crime is so bad.
I know how to use this thing!
You got a cap
Don't make me use this thing! Please! It's mine! Bigger than yours!
I'll take that!
Yes, you can! Hold it, please!
We're in trouble now.
Nobody move!
And remember, the Predator is attracted to conflict. The lights go out, everyone's screaming, trying to escape, it's complete chaos. Predator's just butchering people. I understand it's a different movie, but in Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason just kind of strolls through the subway chasing the main characters. Predator by far had the better subway scene. And this is when they start realizing that there's this connection between conflict and the Predator. It almost kills Leona, but it sees that she's carrying a baby and it refuses to hurt her. And everyone inside the subway that was killed happens to be carrying firearms.
Who got hit this time?
5 gang members. Bunch of commuters. Doesn't make sense.
They were all armed.
Mike flips out and knows he's close to whatever's killing so many people in the city, and he goes after him. I'm not sure exactly how he's tracking him, since the Predator's camouflaged and jumping from rooftop to rooftop, while Mike is driving through alleyways down below trying to catch up to him. But before he can catch him, Keys and the feds show up to take him away. They're aware that the Predator's an alien, and they've been working hard to track him in an attempt to capture it and learn about his technology, which is what the government always does in these movies. And Mike finally gets the deep explanation on what he's been chasing this whole time.
A fucking alien.
And this is another scene that makes Predator 2 so important in the overall lore. Just going by the first movie, by the end, you still don't really know much about the Predator. Why it's here, if it's an isolated event, or if more have been here before. The first in-movie explanation that Predators have been coming to Earth throughout history, and there's even a mention of the first movie.
Iwo Jima, Cambodia, Beirut, drawn by heat and conflict. He's on safari. Lions.
Trophies. That's the game, isn't it, Keys?
You're the lion. 10 years ago, one of his kind stalked and eliminated an elite special forces crew in Central America. There were 2 survivors. They indicated that when trapped, the creature activated a self-destruct device that destroyed enough rainforest to cover 300 city blocks.
Keyes has this genius plan to catch the predator. Somehow they discover that it sees an infrared, so they set up a trap for him in a meat plant it's been using to feed. They design suits that insulate their body heat, cover the area in radioactive dust and UV light. Essentially, they become invisible to the predator, or so they believe. The plan quickly derails once the predator realizes it's a trap, and he simply changes his vision by pressing the D-pad on the wrist-mounted PlayStation controller, and this scene is ripped right out of Aliens, with Mike being the Ripley character. He's watching the plan fail through the cameras, and all these soldiers getting taken out one by one, just like in Aliens.
He sees the damn light! Turn him off! Turn him off! Where is he? What's up?
Oh my God.
Keith, you all right?
But the predator is no longer hiding. Now Mike can see him, and he opens fire on it. This is where the movie really picks up. It becomes a duel to the death, with the predator, man versus monster, no BS, just pure combat. And the predator can take a beating. He lights him up with a shotgun, sends him crashing to the floor, but that's still not enough to take down the predator. He gets the mask off, you see that ugly face, and one rule is you don't touch a predator's helmet. Keyes pops up crazy and wants the predator for himself no matter the cost, and we get a glimpse at another iconic predator weapon, the smart disc. Basically a boomerang that decimates everything with very little effort. And Mike has some balls. After realizing what he's up against, he shows no fear. He charges at the wounded predator, he knocks him off the side of the building, then hurls one of the greatest insults ever at him.
Okay, pussyface. It's your move. Shit happens.
And we know from the end of the first movie that predators are sore losers. They don't take losing lightly. If they know they're about to lose, they'll activate their self-destruct mechanism to blow themselves up in the entire area. But Detective Mike Harrigan won't allow it. He isn't playing around either. I actually feel bad for the predator at this point. The script's completely flipped on him. At this point, the monster is the prey, and Mike is the predator. He's relentless. He wants this monster dead. Predator lands in some old woman's bathroom, and he's trying to fix himself up. He's missing an arm. He's burning the wound to close it, injecting himself with stuff. He's screaming in pain, and Mike is just up his ass. He's not giving him any time to heal himself.
It's all right. I'm a cop.
I don't think he gives a shit.
So the predator runs back to his spaceship, and Mike follows him, finding himself inside the craft, resulting in another expansion of Predator lore when he sees the trophy wall. If you look carefully, there's a xenomorph skull. This was so mind-blowing back in the day. Us 90s kids loved crossovers, and to be fair, crossovers in comics were nothing new. But this was in a movie. An in-movie hint that Predator and Alien could possibly be taking place in the same universe. The story possibilities were endless, which of course since then we've had video games depicting Alien vs. Predator, a ton of comics and side stories, and 2 movies of debatable quality, but the fact that they even exist was awesome. And in the final confrontation, the Predator stands no chance. He's wounded, missing his arm. Mike Harrigan has this deadly sharp smart disc. The Predator's done.
That's straight, asshole.
Shit happened!
And how do you beat a man that just bested a predator in combat? You put multiple predators in front of him. He would have had absolutely no chance, but luckily the rest of the predator hunting party kindly just wanted to collect his body and take it. Mike defeated him fair and square, winning the respect of the elder predator and earning a reward. Which, by the way, I have a whole video coming up on the backstory to this scene right here. He gives him an old gun that has a name and a date on it. Make sure you check the video on that out too, it's really interesting. I'll link it right here once it's ready. And with the hunt over, the predators leave and Mike hauls ass out of there. I always wondered what would have happened if he didn't make it out of the ship in time. Would the predators just have taken him into space with them and just kind of live with them? It's also interesting that this spacecraft was hiding in Los Angeles, a heavily populated city, and no one even noticed it flying in and landing originally. But I guess that's where suspension of disbelief comes in. Mike Harrigan has had a rough evening, to say the least, and the acting of Danny Glover is on point here to represent that. The feds come in to harass him, and he doesn't even say a word. The man is just done. He is not to be messed with right now. Still trying to process what the hell he learned today.
Harrigan! What the fuck happened in there? Huh?
And that is Predator 2, a cult classic that really stands on its own within the entire Predator series with a unique personality that's completely different from the rest of them. I love it, and it's well worth a watch. If you'd like to help support the channel and you're interested in the Predator movies, I do have an Amazon affiliate link in the description below leading to them.
Don't worry, asshole. You'll get another chance.
Since you made it to the end of this video, I assume you enjoyed it, so why don't you go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any new content. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, links in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can join my Patreon or become a channel member. This is Fabian, I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.